In the midst of two thieves, your cross is found to be a balance of righteousness. One was led down to Hades by his blasphemy. The other was raised up by his knowledge of theology. Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
These words come from, it's an excerpt from the 9th hour prayer that pious and Orthodox Christians recite every day at 3 p.m. And the reason I bring it to your attention today is because today is the third Sunday of Lent, and on the third Sunday of Lent, Mother Church, in her wisdom, brings to mind the theme of the Holy Cross, the message of the Holy Cross. In the midst of two thieves, your cross was found to be a balance of righteousness. There's interesting wording concerning the two thieves in this prayer. The one was led down to Hades. The other was raised up by his knowledge of theology. You know, I have always, many years now, I have wanted to talk to you about why theology matters. But I've been reluctant to do so because in the classic sense of that word, a theologian, I am not a theologian. And so I don't think I could ever give it the detail that it deserves and the expression, the full expression that that subject deserves. Why theology matters. But nevertheless, I decided today to at least speak to maybe one aspect of it. Why theology matters. I know this. Bad theology, dear friends, leads to warped and distorted thinking. It leads to extreme thinking, arrogant thinking. It leads to ideology, which ultimately triggers conceit and bad behavior. We dupe ourselves into thinking that we are standing for some truth and some noble cause, when in fact we are simply pampering our pride and our passion and our pain. So much so that it is no longer Christ's cross that is the balance of righteousness, but our own, which becomes a platform for condemning and judging others. St. John Chrysostom said this: the whole world has become a kind of Golgotha. And it is true, in this fallen world, we all have our crosses to bear, all of us. Question becomes, in our suffering on those crosses that we bear, which thief do we emulate? The one who had no theology of suffering, reviled and rebuked and cursed everyone around him, including Christ. Come on already. If you're the Christ, save yourself and us. Blaming him, angry at him, calling him into account, refusing to take responsibility for his own sin, and refusing to ask for forgiveness. But the other thief, the grateful thief, the one who was raised up by his knowledge of theology, in his suffering, sensed the presence of the Lord. The mystery of the Lord co-suffering with him. It's curious to me, not even the disciples' theology was as good as the thief. The disciples' theology was, limited or superficial, because it was focused on the signs and wonders of their teacher. It was focused on sensationalism. And yet, when their teacher suffers his voluntary passion, they abandon him. A thief blessed him, and I denied him. Bad theology sees the Lord's divinity only in the miraculous. The good thief somehow comes to see the Lord's divinity in his suffering. And with this knowledge of theology, hear what he says, see what he does. First, he rebukes his partner in crime, the other thief, who at the time was, as we said, complaining and railing against Christ. And he basically says, are you listening to yourself? Do you not fear God, seeing that you're under the same sentence? And we indeed justly, we are receiving the due reward for our deeds, but this man has done nothing amiss. This man has done nothing out of place. That act, that language is so beautiful and so worthy of admiration. And if that wasn't enough, he adds this. Remember me, Lord, when you come into your kingdom. A prayer that Mother Church has kept to this day, especially and particularly when we're about to receive the Lord's body and blood. A prayer authored by a common thief, enlightened by theology. Again, you compare his theology to the apostles' theology. The apostles' theology, when Christ was going to go into his kingdom, their theology told them, okay, can I be on your left? Can I be on your right? They were jockeying for positions of authority in paradise. This man, the thief, says, Lord, remember me in your kingdom. We are about to process with the cross at this time, dear friends. As you bend the knee, contemplate the crosses in your life. And rather than revile others and bemoan your fate, strive for meaning in the cross of Christ. Place a cross over your cross. Place his cross over your cross. And look at your trials in a new light through the lens of the cross, whereby you may be raised up like the penitent thief and find enlightenment and meaning and transformation by your true knowledge of theology.